Hello and welcome to another special bulletin for JW Watch. It's been announced today, February 22nd, 2023, that Anthony Morris III is, quote, no longer serving as a member of the governing body. This bombshell news was apparently shared with the World Headquarters Bethel family only this morning, and then conveyed in a terse 30-word statement on the organisation's website, jw.org. It's hard to overstate what a huge deal this is organisationally for Jehovah's Witnesses. Whether Tony jumped or was pushed is impossible to know at this early stage, more on that later. But Tony is the first person since Leo Greenlees in the early 1980s to stop serving at the highest tier of the JW hierarchy while still living. This begs the inevitable question, might Tony Morris turn out to be the next Ray Franz, an ex-governing body whistleblower who blows the lid wide open on the organisation's darker side? I mean, nothing's impossible, but I, for one, seriously doubt that's how this situation will play out. In the 17 years since his appointment to the governing body on August 24th, 2005, Anthony Morris has distinguished himself as one of its most outspoken, judgmental, condescending members. He's often gone above and beyond in defending Jehovah's Witnesses' most reprehensible policies, including the organisation's shunning policy, its hateful view of homosexuals, its stigmatising of higher education, and the cover-up of child sexual abuse. He has, among many other things, suggested that tight clothing on men is part of a conspiracy orchestrated by gay people who, quote, like you in tight pants. Morris has also suggested that JW women should not consider for marriage any man aged 23 years or older who is not yet a ministerial servant. He did this at the United States branch visit. He once told Jehovah's Witnesses in Trinidad at another branch visit that they are themselves worthy of death if they neglect to preach in weeks. And famously, he said the following about all who would be slain by Jehovah at Armageddon.
Now, it's not that we rejoice in someone's death, but when it comes to God's enemies, finally, they're out of the way, especially these despicable apostates who at one point had dedicated their life to God, and then they joined forces with Satan, the devil, the chief apostate of all time. Just to emphasize this, but the wicked will perish, the enemies of Jehovah will vanish like glorious pastures. Particularly, they will vanish like smoke. So I thought this would be a nice memory aid, this verse stay in the mind. Here's what Jehovah's promising. As Jehovah's enemies, they're going to vanish like smoke.
Ironically and somewhat poetically, it's Tony Morris whose career as a high-ranking cult leader has been snuffed out. And it's difficult to imagine that with such an extensive back catalogue of hateful, bigoted, self-aggrandizing rants, this particular individual would perform a total 180 and begin condemning such behaviour. He is so complicit in the organisation's cover-up of abuse over so many years that he would need to turn himself into the authorities and cooperate fully with their investigations if he were to defect. Although again, we can't write anything off at this stage. Whether he does the honourable thing or not, Tony Morris may not wish to go quietly. This leaves us with the question, did Tony jump or was he pushed? Hopefully future developments might shed more light on what's happening, and it will be interesting to see whether the organisation stays completely silent beyond the 30-word statement, as I suspect it will, or seeks to put their spin on things, perhaps with an emotional tribute to Tony's many years of service. But I somehow doubt they will opt for the latter. It's long been an open secret that Tony is prone to drinking alcohol. On a fateful Sunday morning at the end of March 2019, he was spotted in a liquor store, apparently buying a considerable quantity of very expensive Macallan's single malt. The covert footage shared on this channel, which became known as Bottlegate, prompted serious questions over the extent to which governing body members abide by their own rules, in this case on alcoholism, or are willing to live by the same principles of donating surplus funds to the kingdom work that they insist on for their followers, some of whom live in abject poverty. Even before Bottlegate, it was obvious that Tony Morris had an issue with slurring his words when giving talks, but Bottlegate gave us a plausible explanation as to why. It makes total sense that if Tony Morris had an alcohol dependency, this would manifest itself, at least occasionally, in his appearances on stage or on camera. Simply put, Tony Morris has long been a liability for the governing body, both with the rumours of alcoholism, supported by his slurring appearances, and with his condescending, judgmental speeches. It could very well be that they finally decided to put him out to pasture, meaning that we're very unlikely to see any more of this sort of thing.
By keeping pace with Jehovah's Chariot, we show that we respect and have confidence in Jehovah. As a result, we enjoy what is stated at Psalm 29, verse 11. Jehovah will give strength to his people. Jehovah will bless his people with peace. Yes, by being part of Jehovah's organization, we share in the strength and peace that only he can provide. May we all continue to adapt as Jehovah's Chariot moves and enjoy his rich blessing. From the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses, this is JW Broadcasting.
The clip we've just seen was Tony Morris's last appearance on camera on Governing Body Update number 8, which went out on December 22nd, 2022. Interestingly, the following month, on January 18th, 2 new appointees to the governing body were announced, namely Geoffrey Winder and Gage Flegel. And now, here we are a month on, with Tony Morris headed for the exit. Of course, all of this could just be a coincidence, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we are witnessing the outcome of some good old-fashioned cloak and dagger politics. Many of you remember that in his book Crisis of Conscience, Raymond Franz revealed that for governing body decisions to be ratified, a 2/3 majority was required. Let's hypothetically say that Tony Morris's future on the body had been hanging in the balance for months or years, and the governing body was at a deadlock on how to proceed. Assuming Morris were barred from voting over his own future, if 4 members wanted him gone, this would not be enough if Tony Morris could garner support from the remaining 3. There would be no 2/3 majority. But if 2 individuals were headhunted for appointment to the governing body, fast-tracked through, and primed in advance on the matter, their votes against him would be enough to reach the 2/3 majority and seal Morris's fate. I'm not saying this is what's happened. All of this is pure conjecture, and we have absolutely no way of knowing what's going on at this early stage. But I can't ignore the highly peculiar timing, and it will be interesting to see what, if any, light can be shed on this remarkable development that might prove my theory correct or wildly off target. In any case, all that remains is to bid adieu to Tony Morris in the best way I can think of. Tony, you're arrogant, hateful, hypocritical ramblings have inadvertently helped countless Jehovah's Witnesses to come to their senses and break free from their indoctrination. And for that, if nothing else, I must thank you. But sadly, all good things must come to an end. And I think it's time for you to vanish like smoke.